Will Kyler Murray give the Arizona Cardinals a Valentine's Day card today? Will he? Will he give it to them? Will they kind of figure this mess out? There's one person that can just absolutely fix all of this, and it's Kyler Murray. We'll get into the conversation. The report from Mort, the Mort report is back, and JJ Watt comes to the rescue. We're breaking it all down. Plus, it's a mock draft Monday. It's Bo Brock. It's Alex Clancy. It's Locked On Cardinals. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the podcast, Bo Brock, Alex Clancy. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. You did it all throughout the 2021 season. That's now in the rearview mirror. A Super Bowl champion has been crowned, and now in the 2022 offseason, thanks for making us your first listen as well. Of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Great content. If it's your team, it's Locked On Podcast Network every day. This episode brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline, as you covered this season, more props, odds, lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts, and you're just building your stack at this point. Like your life between now and the kickoff of the 2022 regular season, it's just building that stack so you can just become a millionaire a couple times over at betonline.net. Alex Clancy, Bo Brock. So the report was dropped on Sunday. Couldn't even have a nice little Super Bowl Sunday as Cardinals fans, as people who've covered the team, because Chris Mortensen just added more fuel to the fire as far as the Kyler Murray Arizona Cardinals organization relationship. I know my mentions were blown up. I know Alex's mentions were blown up on Twitter. Make sure you're following along at Brack, at Clancy's Corner, at Locked On AZCards. Got a mock draft. I think I've figured out all the Arizona Cardinals issues in just 3 rounds of a mock draft. We'll see where Alex is on that. And then JJ Watt to the rescue, the leader that we do not deserve. Alex, let's get into the conversation about this Chris Mortensen report. I'm going to pull it up. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it. We'll read it for you for those listening on podcasts. Of course, free and available across all platforms. All right, here it is. At Chris Mortensen on Twitter. The odd vibe between the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray is indeed alarming. Murray is described as a immature finger pointer per sources. Murray is frustrated with the franchise and was embarrassed by the playoff loss to the Rams and thinks he's been framed as the scapegoat. You want me to, you want to break this one down first, or do you want to get into the second part of this as well?
They're two different things. So let's talk about this one first. And Bo put out an interesting thing on Twitter about the second thing that Chris Mortensen said. There's one thing about the Arizona Cardinals, and Chris Mortensen is one of the best in the business, top 5 all time, whatever, with ESPN, whatever he's done over his time. Sources we know around the state of Arizona, a lot of time are full of expletive. And I don't know if this is the case here. I don't know if that's just what they feed local media to kind of keep people off their track for what they're really going to do. It's never made a whole lot of sense. They think that they're being coy and cute and smart when really they look dumb. But with the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, this one is a little bit more personal. It's reflecting a person said by another person, how first person acts around other people. And that seems to be a little bit more, of substance than just, the Cardinals are going to draft this player at 16 overall or whatever. So my eyebrows raised. I'm like, well, damn it. Guess I got to shower and go to work today. It's kind of one of those things where it's more important than Kyler scrubbing his Instagram, but it also is a report based on another report, and we have no idea of the actual credence of it.
Yeah, I mean, when I read this tweet, it makes my knee-jerk reaction is like, okay, Kyler, grow up. Grow up. You're 24 years old. You're going to be 25 when the 2022 season kicks off. And it was a bad performance. It's one of those things where it's the Ted Lasso quote, the happiest animal on the planet is a goldfish because it has the shortest memory. Obviously, you want them to be able to take from that, never want to have to relive that again. And we've seen young quarterbacks be able to build off horrible performance in the postseason or just horrible performances overall. But man, to sit there and say, hey, everybody's blaming me for this. they're using me as the scapegoat. I'm there's no reason for it. First of all, they're not. I think if anybody is taking the bulk of the blame, it's head coach Cliff Kingsbury, it's Steve Keim. Kyler Murray's a big talking point. There are some idiots out there that want to move off of this guy. I don't understand it, but I don't see him as the main scapegoat. And with that being said, it's just like, okay, who cares what they're saying? You've shown that you can play at this level. Let's figure it out. Let's fix the issues that the Arizona Cardinals had a brutal performance. Nobody can deny that, and I don't think Kyler is. I don't think the organization is. But let's move forward together. This is not something that should be burned to the ground because the NFC Super Bowl team blew your doors off.
Yeah, I mean, it just brings back all of the sickening conversations we had since the Cardinals started 7-0 and AJ Green didn't turn around.
Yeah.
Like really, I mean, going back and then starting 10-2, and then it was really the Detroit Lions loss where I just unleashed. I do no longer have a restrictor plate on what I say about Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim. I was actually texting with Brendan Clean from Locked On Suns earlier this morning, and we share a common thing where the ownership hasn't always been great for the respective teams. And what James Jones and Monty Williams have done there has revolutionized the Suns going back to the mid-2000s days. The Cardinals haven't had that with their GM and their head coach. And that's the stark difference where it's like we continue to talk about the same thing and it gets old, but it doesn't mean it's not true still. And I don't like just because there's no statute of limitations on being inept at your job. So I try to not talk about it as much as possible. Now with this new wrinkle, this is the real polarization of, is it Kyler or is it Cliff and Keim? Is it Kyler or is it management? Is it Kyler or is it management? And now Kyler looks like a spoiled baby, sure, right now. But what does that mean in the grand scheme of the ecosystem that's been built around him? Like who's at fault more? Everybody's at fault because the Cardinals started 10-2 and they couldn't clinch a damn playoff spot. But also, Steve Keim has extended one first-round pick since 2013 that he drafted. Number two, Cliff Kingsbury hasn't won an important game in his entire NFL coaching career. Those are true also. So we can't just say, oh, it's all Kyler's fault or it's all their fault. It's both their fault. But if things were worked better and manufactured a little bit more maturely, this would have been squashed immediately. And I would give the blame to Kyler on that.
Yeah, if he wasn't trying to create leverage and if he wasn't trying to, find ways to negotiate himself the biggest contract, he would get out in the forefront of this. But that's what's happening, right? I mean, can we agree on that? That, yeah, things are not well as far as Tempe and Glendale and the state of the Arizona Cardinals right now. Absolutely not. I'm not the person sitting, and I'm not the meme of the dog sitting in the room and it's on fire and saying everything is fine. Absolutely, things are not fine, and things shouldn't be fine. How things ended, things shouldn't be fine. And I think the other side of this tweet maybe proves that the organization is trying to figure it out. Do they have the tools necessary to figure out that also is just another question. But Kyler Murray has the absolute power to change the narrative of this story. And the longer it lingers, it's not on the Arizona Cardinals, it's on Kyler Murray's shoulders.
No, that's right. That's right. And maybe it takes a little while for these guys for some people to become leaders. Maybe it just takes longer. And maybe he is being a baby. And maybe he is and babies, these are grown men. Okay. So we can kind of gloss over actually calling somebody that. He's just inexperienced at feeling what he's feeling right now.
Yeah.
And for introverted people, maybe it's not as easy, but look at what Aaron Rodgers has done. Okay. Aaron Rodgers is the biggest crybaby on the planet when they lose, yet he's looked at as the best quarterback in the NFL. Okay. I'm not directly comparing the two, but I'm not Aaron Rodgers has said he wanted out twice.
Yeah.
Okay. Russell Wilson once. Okay. This isn't this is the first time this has ever happened in the NFL. It's during the offseason. It's not the regular season. The last season hasn't even ended yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we go, that's one thing that I just can't. I don't really understand.
I think, and it's an organizational issue, lack of accountability. And, it's probably just, you're saying what's happened the last 3 years? How come he's acting out still like this as he's nearly a 25-year-old person? I mean, think back to when you were 24. You probably the weight of kind of being the face of the franchise. You've probably likely you've never faced that before. Not giving him an excuse, but the thing that bothers me is like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson have accomplished far more. And I know that's not your point, but they've accomplished far more to, to be crybabies. Like they got at least a lot more done and accomplished before they kind of became an issue. Where Kyler Murray, he had a bad first playoff game. I mean, and people are going to blame you for that, reasonably or unreasonably. You're going to have to deal with it because that's just part of the gig. So. Let's get into the second part of this, what J.J. Watt says, and of course, how I'm going to fix the Arizona Cardinals just in 3 rounds of the draft in our mock draft Monday. But let's talk about something that's never an issue. It's actually always the best option. And we're talking about Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the planet. Oh, man. Big, old, delicious Built Bar and a black coffee. There's not a better breakfast on the damn planet. That's where I'm going, Built Bar. It's where healthy, it's where tasty, those worlds collide. And at this time of year, if you've already said bye-bye to your New Year's resolution, you can kind of keep on track by staying healthy with a Built Bar and not have to compromise any taste. You got puffs out there. They're marshmallow infused with protein. That's insane. Like when you think about, hey, how come we don't have all these, cutting edge technology things? Like how come science hasn't figured it out? They figured out how to put protein in a marshmallow, and that's all that matters because it's incredible. Built Bar, they usually have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of muscle packing protein. Check them out. Great flavors, mint brownie, coconut almond, just to name a few. You can save some cash as well. Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your order using the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. There it is.
Woo!
Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing already and also hitting the alerts button. Anytime we did a little impromptu Kyler Murray conversation last week. If you don't want to miss out on those, set up the alerts. And anytime we go live, anytime we post any content on our YouTube page, you'll be notified. You won't miss out on a single damn thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right, let's get into the second part of this Mort report. Chris Mortensen reporting on Super Bowl Sunday. More on the Arizona Cardinals issue with Kyler Murray, Kyler Murray's issue with the Arizona Cardinals. And we'll continue to give our opinion on it. I know Alex has he's not short on those, and he has strong opinions on it. And so do I. Here's what Chris Mortensen said. Second half of this thing. Where is it headed? As far as Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, despite the acrimony, the Arizona Cardinals expect things to calm down, and Murray is their QB. Select veterans hope to reach Murray on how he can handle adversity better. Coach Cliff Kingsbury also is self-scouting where he can provide better alternatives for a quarterback or QB. I think he meant better alternatives in facing adversity for the quarterback. I don't think that tweet means that Cliff Kingsbury is scouting other quarterbacks. He's looking at himself, how he can better help his QB.
Yeah. Has Cliff Kingsbury ever had an answer for a question? Oh, I don't know. We got to look at the tape. Oh, I don't know. We got to look at that. Oh, we got to check that out. Yeah, it's something we're going to have to deal with. He's never had like this is why this is happening, and this is what I'm going to do to fix it. Has he?
Well,
we watched a lot of post game pressers where he's like, "Oh no, I got to look at the tape," which is fine. The game just ended. Hey, why were you guys so bad in the passing game? Well, I don't know. It's something we got to work on. It's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, I mean, you're not going to get any answers from Bill Belichick, who's the go-to. But the thing I do appreciate through this report, look, this is all a report. This is all from Chris Mortensen, who Alex explained why you should trust because he's been doing it for so long. And he's pretty accurate as far as his reports go. At least Cliff Kingsbury is looking to be a part of the solution because look, the Arizona Cardinals, they're not going to move off of Kyler Murray as quarterback. That's not going to happen. What they need to do is figure out a way for their quarterback to handle when he doesn't perform up to what our standards are for the former number one overall pick. And, whether it's play calling, whether that's what he's saying to him on the sidelines, what he's saying to him in the film room. Kyler Murray, the misconception that he doesn't want to watch film is ridiculous. He does. He just doesn't spend a Russell Wilson amount of time in the film room. Sure, we'd like that romantic idea that all quarterbacks are like that. That's not, they're just like you and I. I support is what Cliff is doing. Like I'm gonna say this again. I think that 90% of this is on Kyler Murray. This is 90% on Kyler Murray needing to become to mature and make better decisions for himself, become an adult. And we're asking somebody who's 24. I think it's unfair this day and age to expect these guys, especially with the high expectations that are put on these franchise quarterbacks, because Patrick Mahomes, my God, Joe Burrow exists, that they're ahead of the curve. But we also do see, I was talking to Lee Steinberg, the super agent, that hey, he was talking about too. It's like, hey, usually it just takes time for these guys to develop and mature, especially at the quarterback position.
Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson ruined it for everybody.
They did.
Because they're the exceptions to the rule, and now they're looked to be the rule. Joe Burrow ruined it for everybody. Joe Burrow's like 35 years old already. Okay,
he's older than Kyler.
Yeah. So, and Lamar Jackson is a baby, like age-wise, when he was able just to take over. But look at where he went, and look at where Patrick Mahomes went. The poster child, the poster children of stability in the NFL. The Ravens and the Chiefs since Andy Reid took over. Even before Andy Reid, even when Todd Haley, like they weren't the worst. You know, they just weren't winning franchises. Once Alex Smith went there and Andy Reid went there, everything changed. The Ravens, the Steelers, you know, it's stability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it truly does. I mean, and the Patriots was a weird one with Brady. The difference thing with Brady was like, nobody expected that. Belichick was a losing head coach with Cleveland before he went over there. That was just an anomaly that we're never going to see again, most likely. But like him going to a fragile, I guess, organization, I've always equated them to an elephant walking on a sheet of ice. We don't know how thick the ice is. That's what we're experiencing right now. So it's going to be growing pains. There are going to be issues. But if we're going to talk positively about something, at least these are better issues than them winning 7 games.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think what people are, the nightmare situation, though, the nightmare scenario becomes Ben Simmons. I mean, because nobody envisions somebody being like, okay, I'm unhappy. I'm going to force my way out of here, because we honestly don't, like, we haven't heard enough from Kyler to dissuade us from believing that that's not a possible scenario. Like at the end of the day, like, and I've said this and I'll maintain this, that it should be a fireable offense if anybody entertains trading him. But in the day and age of player empowerment and the way that Gen Z, caliber, players aren't the same as, hey, if you got a problem, you're going to go talk to somebody. No, they're going to weaponize their social media, and they're going to try to do whatever they can. They're unhappy. They're going to be unhappy until you get them out of there. That's the nightmare scenario. Like, you don't want that. You have to do everything in your power to avoid that. So, that becomes another conversation, is like, how do you approach an immature quarterback if he wants to get out? Do you cater to him, or do you just like play, tough love?
I can guarantee if this were John Harbaugh or Andy Reid, they'd be sitting in an office right now and there would be a conversation. I'm sure there has been. Like, I'm not completely negating what Steve Keim and Cliff do, but the optics are terrible.
Oh, awful.
And this isn't just about Kyler. This is about every other player that's ever played for the Arizona Cardinals telling their friends, told you. And that's something that you need to avoid. That's something you need to fix. And you thought what happened with Rodney Hudson and J.J. Watt and A.J. Green bringing in this veteran leadership, because the coach can't do it, the players have to, that it was going to change the narrative. And it did for a while, until there was adversity, until the vacuum effect was null, when things just started to go wrong and they couldn't fix it. And that's where we are now. This is on Cliff. This is on Steve Keim, in my opinion, to frame this in a way where they're protecting their quarterback. Like, I just don't. The fact that we haven't heard a bleep from Steve Keim blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I just don't know what they would say at this point, because, I mean, they shouldn't be in the fact gathering process. They should know exactly what their relationship and where they stand with their quarterback is. Like, there's no doubt about it. I think you agree with me on that. I think that's what you pretty much outlined. Um, the fact that they can only talk in cliches and only say, well, we're going to do the best what we can. That's an issue. Like, they need to know where they are. I don't know if there's any restrictions from them communicating. I don't think there are, but they need to quickly figure out where they stand with their quarterback. I do agree with Mort saying that the organization expects things to calm down. The wound is still fresh. We're still weeks removed from that. But what Kyler needs to understand is that bad performance isn't going. The only person that's going to let that linger is himself. Like, he's going to have to get over it at some point, because I think a lot of other people are forward thinking, like, okay, we got that behind us. We're in unfortunately they're in the baby steps instead of taking leaps like the Bengals were able to do. And they have to figure things out, because it's going to be an issue in March when the new league year happens and free agents are going to have, if they ask Steve Keim, how long is Kyler Murray going to be here? He's got to have to tell him that he's going to be their quarterback of the future now and in the future, that he's nearing an extension, whatever it may be. That's the only way you're going to lure free agents into that building.
When Ty goes to the runner, player, coach, who 99% of the time loses?
The coach.
Yeah. And this time it's Kyler. Like, Kyler is in full effect. Like, this could be the smoking gun from everything that we haven't seen before this. And sure, this could be a 24-year-old who's never lost before being immature. Okay. But in the history of time in the NFL, the coach always loses. Always.
Yeah.
And the front office always loses. And I've seen a lot of this fan base say, you know what, get Kyler out of here immediately. It's like, what the hell are we talking about here, guys and gals? Like, I don't understand. I that's one thing I cannot comprehend.
His overall work shows him to be a top 6, 7 quarterback, and you want to move off of that?
Even 10. Even give him 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's insane.
And I'm having people, Dan Taylor's living on this hill, trade for Derek Carr. Derek Carr is not a 15 quarterback in this league. Stop it. I'm going to mute you if you say it again. I'm going to.
Does that really happen?
I've multiple times. It's a top 10. Derek Carr in a second-round pick.
Have you seen the Colt McCoy?
Somebody said start Colt. Oh, yeah.
He goes 2-1. And it's
Did you watch the Carolina game?
He was like 9-22 before that.
And Bo, being growing up as a Washington Commanders football fan, he's known all too well what Colt McCoy does, starting multiple games in a row.
You just can't win unless you've got elite tier talent at the quarterback position. You just can't. Look at the teams that played in the Super Bowl. I mean, there's a difference between Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. There's a difference. You can't just put any schlub back there. You can point to Trent Dilfer. You can point to Nick Foles. Those are the exceptions to the rule. Otherwise, you have to have elite playmaking from that position, and it ain't coming from Derek Carr. I think he's proven that at this point in his many years in the NFL. J.J. Watt to the rescue, plus our mock draft results. It's Locked On Cardinals. Football season might be over, but basketball full steam ahead. Pro, college hoops, from the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next coach is fired. BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today, use your mobile device, and learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's play this clip of J.J. Watt. Dropped on his social media, gave everybody a good chuckle. At JJ Watt on Twitter, Instagram. I believe he still follows the Cardinals.
I just tried to FaceTime Kyler. He didn't answer. What does it mean? Are we still friends? Does he still follow me on social? Maybe it's just at dinner.
There's J.J. Watt putting things in perspective. Now, that was before the Mort report. But it also, it's just like, I ride the line, Alex, where it's just like, this is all silly. What are we doing? Like, this is the smoking gun. He's not following the Cardinals on Twitter and Instagram, and he scrubbed his pages. Like, that's what we're using for all of this. Like, that put it a little bit in perspective. And then the Mortensen stuff came out. But I mean, that's not the thing. I don't know if it's unfortunate. Like, what Mortensen reported is like things we kind of knew, and that things that we knew that Kyler was going to have to improve on as far as his leadership skills and being the face of the franchise if he wanted to take that leap from good to great.
Right. And JJ Watt is in the very luxurious position of already making $115 million in his life. He's living in the desert. His wife, the point in his career is a little bit different. And he's been like this, but he's been through the rigors of all of this before. He knows the majority of this is a joke. And also, he's got skin in the game, but does he? Like, he's got 2 years. He hasn't been here forever. He hasn't been with Kyler forever. I know what he's doing is paramount for the shift of this organization. But if this were, I don't know, a different situation, if he had been here a handful of years, I don't know if he would have done this. I feel like it's just, he knows it's not a big deal. His career is on easy street from now on. Obviously, he's been through the injuries with the neck and everything, whatever. But I'm not making light of it, but still, it's like, why is he the only one that's gone to bat for Kyler? That's more of a question that I'm kind of like, what are we doing here? Christian Kirk was interviewed. Kirk had some words to say when he was interviewed about it, but I don't know, man. It makes you think about the other side.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think about some people taking things too seriously, right? I mean, but maybe. You're right. I mean, when you've already got money in the bank, you're through several contracts, you're even on another organization after being the face of one franchise before that, you kind of have the confidence and maturity level to laugh at it all at the end of the day, where some people are young and very serious about what's next for them, and they're digging in, and they don't have the ability to kind of like take, a couple bumps and then laugh at it. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's riding this line where this is absurd and where it's not that far fetched, which is crazy. And this organization, the history of it, sure, it hasn't kind of gone through this specifically, but when you've got the leaders of the team, DeAndre Hopkins and JJ Watt, not really sweating about this, it should give Cardinals fans a little confidence that regardless of what's going on and what's being reported, come to the 2022 season, their quarterback's going to be ready to go again.
Yeah, and you hope. And this is it's so soon after the season that maybe there's two different ways to look at it. One, well, it's just the burn from the end of the season, or there's more underlying issues here. I would assume that it's going to go away, and then there's going to be a kumbaya moment, and everything we'll go back to normal. And the free agency, Steve Keim will make another splash in free agency and hopefully execute in the draft, and the Cardinals can make the most out of Kyler's last year on his rookie deal, and they'll get an extension done midway through the season instead of waiting till the end of next year. It's just something that we weren't expecting so quickly to happen, or, something to happen before the 2021 season even ends.
But when you use the comparison of what's going on with other franchise quarterbacks, and you've already mentioned a couple of them, including Lamar Jackson, who still hasn't, there's no reports of, he's a year ahead of Kyler Murray. He's got an MVP trophy. He's got a 14-2 season. He's got a playoff win under his belt. There's not a P or any kind of, there's no shade being thrown. There's nothing going on with Lamar Jackson in his camp, which is kind of a little discouraging, a little, that it can't be handled in the same professional way with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, but this is kind of what we've kind of grown accustomed to. It's just in that weird, icky stage where this, you would think, could be figured out over a cup of coffee. Be like, listen, these are our plan of attack for marketing, for PR, for all this stuff. Let's just get this over with. It's not the Cardinals' way. The Cardinals like, oh, we keep everything tight to the vest. Yeah. How is that working for you since your inception being the third losingest franchise in NFL history? You tell me.
Yeah, there's a great point to that. I mean, there is full transparency, putting all the cards and pushing the chips in the middle of the table. I mean, that sometimes works out for you. All right, let's get into the mock draft Monday results. My mock draft, especially in the first round, has become let's make the franchise quarterback happy. Let's go out there. Let's get him a playmaker. 23rd overall. I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting That's not the right one. All right. Is that yours? That was from a couple weeks ago. Let me bring up mine. Well, I had him taking Drake London. If you're watching on YouTube, you won't see the graphic, but I have him taking Drake London, the wide receiver out of USC, big kid, 6'4", 6'5"-ish, athletic. He's an instant upgrade over AJ Green. That's Kyler Murray likes to go on second and short, third and short. He loves one-on-one coverage. You get a little separation with the athleticism, the speed of Drake London, and it's big play after big play. I'll especially couple him with DeAndre Hopkins. You've got two legitimate threats in your passing game. Quarterbacks are always happy with that.
Bo, we're going to do this all offseason?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're going to take a wide receiver in the first round all offseason.
I took a corner, but Ahmed Gardner is no longer making it to 23 in my mock draft on the draftnetwork.com.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, here's the thing is I just think that's a terrible idea. Zion Johnson, interior offensive line. And it's funny you said when you teased the whole podcast, you're like, I'm going to say the exact three players that the Cardinals need to save their season. If you look at the Draft Network, there are 13 needs that the Cardinals have. Okay? It's every position the Cardinals have needs. So I'm taking a big boy interior offensive lineman. This is going to make the Kyler Murray experience either work or not. If you want to give one last chance, like Cliff Kingsbury finally has his guys on offense. Now we can see what the offense is going to look like. Spoiler alert, it was terrible the last half of the season. We're going to see what Kyler Murray's about. You need to bolster the offensive line, replace Justin Hugh with a big, young left guard. And yeah, that's my first round pick, Bo.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it, especially if you get a controllable player in the offensive line. It's a cheaper option than even Justin Pugh. And, hopefully Cliff isn't as reluctant as Vance Joseph is to play a young offensive lineman right out of the gates. Okay, we actually agreed. We both had the same second round pick. I'll put yours up here. Out of Alabama, interior defensive lineman, Phidarian Mathis. You've seen him play a lot of big games for the Tide. And that, as far as shoring up your rush defense, it starts in the middle of that, and you can get a guy right out of the gates, 55th overall, Phidarian Mathis. No disagreements there. I think that's where you have to go. And I actually went with both the lines down the line here, because 87th overall, I went and this guy was a big key cog as far as the success that UTSA had. They went 12-1 this season. They were a monster as far as running the football. I took an interior offensive lineman, 87th overall, Spencer Burford, as my third round pick. Alex, you went with Drake Jackson. Another, as you said, ton of needs for the Cardinals. You take Drake Jackson out of where's he here
USC.
From? Okay.
6'4", 250 edge rusher. It's just checking boxes. The dude's a monster. He plays a little bit better off the ball than on the ball, which is something that we've kind of heard of from the linebackers that the Cardinals have had recently. But Drake Jackson, bingo, bango, bongo. Offensive line, defensive line, edge rusher, and just take care of the rest in free agency or re-sign the guys you got.
All right. We're going to be talking about it. If you're doing mock drafts, tweet them at us, at Locked On AZCards, at Clancy's Corner, at Bob Brack. We always respond. We'll reply with our thoughts on it. We'll post ours as well on Monday for a mock draft Monday. It's happening all off season long. We continue the Cardinals discussion tomorrow. More on what happened on Super Bowl Sunday. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. And leave us a review. Rate us if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. It always helps us out. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you on Tuesday morning. It's the Locked On Cardinals Podcast, part of your Locked On Podcast Network. Now make Locked On Bets your second listen with your boy Q and Lee Sterling.